that's where our company strives to work is, we bring that wireless power center of excellence from firmware to RF to mechanical to power electronics to coil design to simulation, because not every company is going to invest in having their own 50-person center of excellence internally. On the way here, you're talking about what you've seen as far as like wireless power solutions companies, technology companies, and that there's a need for all these different disciplines. But in some cases, you don't see that all those disciplines are being covered by other companies. I don't want to put words in your mouth. So just talk to me about what you've seen and what you think are those essential disciplines in order to make wireless power technology, really make it to mass production and successful in the mass market.
Yeah, in fact, on this ground, I would say that wireless charging, if it gets into a device, is not only for a particular time bound. It has to be futuristic, it has to be there forever.
Absolutely.
The needs of the market changes, the demand changes, the technology advances further. So, and since this is more about embedding, say, example, coils, antennas, chips into the device, sometimes you cannot do that. Example, if you take a car, you cannot be having a in-cabin charging solution there and make it redundant within 1 or 2 years' time because the technology is really advanced.
It's like a 10-year scrap rate on those, right?
Yeah, because the life cycle of a car is at least 10 years. So that was one of the reasons why many auto OEMs were hesitant to adopt wireless charging. But they're saying if I adopt now, within 1 or 2 years, it will be redundant.
But now they are all doing it. I think a lot of that's because Apple jumped in and said this is how it's going to be. Samsung said this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
So all the main tier phones have agreed that Qi is the way to go. Now they can jump in and do
And
it.
many are shifting to EPP. So if the EPP was not there, we could understand what's happening there.
Right.
And I would say we should still not stop here.
Yeah.
I know with the current technology that we have a 15-watt solution, right? I'm sure we have capability to increase that to 20 watts, 30 watts, or 40 watts, or even 50 watts with some good innovations here. Which means that if I'm embedding that particular hardware into that transmitter, if I may say, application, I think I should be able to do that remotely as well, upgrade the technology. Some of the components, yes, could be still the same, but with the firmware upgrade, I would say, and there are less companies. I think I can only count few of them, 2 or 3 companies who are actually doing a good work, saying that yes, I'm embedding this technology into your device, into your application, but don't worry, it is slightly more futuristic. You don't need to remove it, engrave it out.
It's field upgradable.
Yeah, more of that. So, and I think phone is still fine because people change phones every 2 or 3 years, example. But for applications like AGVs or even electric vehicles,
Automotive,
e-bikes,
industrial tools.
Yeah. So, example, if you say electric vehicle, what if everybody adopts 7 kilowatts or 11 kilowatts, but tomorrow the needs have changed, the technology have advanced to 21 kilowatts.
Yeah.
You cannot expect every OEM to remove the old batteries or old wireless charging technology and put a new one. I think we can easily do that with a firmware upgrade and all those stuff.
Yeah, well, you see that in the EV space. You see Tesla doing that a lot. They've launched vehicles that have the hardware necessary, and then later on they do the firmware
I think
upgrades.
that's the right approach. I think that would, and I think you guys, in fact, when I was walking through your office, I was so happy to see you don't even have a hardware division, but you also have a dedicated software team, which is what I think many companies should.
I frankly can't imagine doing it another way because when you get into these devices, it's not just a coil.
Yeah.
It's not just a chip. You have to integrate it with other parts of the system, and a lot of that integration comes with that firmware and that software layer. It's a little surprising to me, actually, that you said that it's rare that we do that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's necessary. I don't think we could be a successful business without that department.
I would totally agree, especially in wireless charging where you play with lot many things rather than just like only the coils and chips.
Yeah.
That I think that's very necessary, especially when we are at the very nascent stage of the technology, where we are just at generation 1. We have long way to go, and obviously there will be a lot of advancement coming in.
Yep.
And you can't be like removing and changing coils or changing batteries because the technology advances. Some way it's practically not possible. So I think software will play a bigger role there.
Yeah.
It will also play a role where you have interoperability, whether you use fake products or authentic products and all. Many applications, like example, mobile phone, we have industry standard plus proprietary solutions.
Yep.
I think that's proprietary solutions where the software will play a bigger role because it will help you to make your device safe and secure, which you cannot do it because you don't have a standard there.
Yeah, absolutely. And really understanding how to leverage the hardware that's available when you're writing the code.
Yeah.
I mean, most companies now, all electronic companies have good firmware engineers and software engineers working there. They have to make their core product.
Yeah.
But really understanding how to leverage the wireless charging capabilities.
Yeah.
And work within the constraints, because there are plenty of constraints too.
Yeah.
It's really critical to launching successful products.
Yeah, and in fact, in the future, I will not be surprised. Now, many technology companies are working with coil manufacturers and chip manufacturers,
Yep.
example, to have a good solution or have a good hardware.
Yep.
I will not be surprised if they start to even work with the battery manufacturers,
Yep.
because battery technology is changing.
Yep.
The way the batteries are manufactured, I think some of the batteries are even coated with the graphene and all, so to make it like less heated and all those things.
Especially when you're doing like 50-watt charging of a phone.
yeah.
You need to worry about the chemistry. So it's interesting. I think that the teams that have a lot of experts on them, mobile phone companies come to mind,
Yeah.
they're definitely doing that. They've been doing that and they're going to keep doing it. The question becomes, it's a scale question,
Yeah.
and how integrated and how expert you want your team to
Yeah.
be outside of your core competencies.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of companies who are, billions of dollars of revenue a year, but they say, here's the 5 things we're really good at, and we're going to be better at those 5 things than everyone else in our market, and that's how we're going to win. But here's the 25 other things we need to do to get this product off the ground, and we're
Yeah.
going to work with specialists in that.
Yeah.
That's where our company strives to work is, we bring that wireless power center of excellence from
Yeah.
firmware to RF to mechanical to power electronics to coil design to
Yeah.
simulation, because not every company is going to invest in having their own 50-person center of excellence internally.
Yeah.
Or their own battery teams internally.
Yeah.
They don't want to get into the chemistry. Maybe they don't even want to get into the power management IC, the PMIC design.
Yeah.
They just want someone to help integrate that. And so it's interesting just to kind of look down the cascade of companies where
Yeah.
mobile phone companies certainly have been and will continue to work very closely in driving what battery technology does.
Yeah.
But when you get down into other parts of the market, they just work with what's available and they say, just make my core competency work.
Yeah, and you'll be very surprised, Jacob. Yeah, you mentioned about mobile phone companies. They are relatively, if I would say, are tech-savvy companies, fast in adoption, take particularly more risk than that. But you'll be very surprised how they are so compartmentalized. The
Yeah.
battery technology team is different from a wireless charging team versus a communication team and all. I think sometimes they have to sit together and say what you're doing and I'm doing.
Yeah.
How our lives become easier
Yeah.
when my battery technology works with your wireless charging technology.
Yeah.
Or how can I change the battery mechanism
Yeah.
such that you can charge faster at higher pace and still be safe and secure.
Oh yeah, it can get even worse than that. Like that's just the people in the phone.
Yeah.
Then you get to the accessories team.
Yes.
They're in a different country.
Yeah.
Like they're making the holders, the
It's totally
phone
different
case,
world, yeah.
and then if you need a wireless charging accessory to, it's like, oh my gosh, they don't. It's like.
Yeah.
We introduce people sometimes from the same company.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, here's the person from Nebraska that
Yes.
works with the person in Suzhou. You guys didn't know you were at the same company,
Yeah.
but you are, and we're going to help bring that together.
That's
so
right.
it's crazy how.
Yeah, that is
bifurcated
still
it is.
fine for big companies who have their own receivers and transmitters, if I put it that way. But imagine a third party preparing transmitter, because there are many third party transmitters.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine
Yeah.
what will go, because obviously there is no integration there.
Yeah.
And that's where industry standard comes in picture.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
how important industry standard comes there, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. That's really helpful to get your view of how the industry is aligning with, internal expertise, cross functionality versus when you want to go outside for that. So I appreciate your perspective on that.
I also saw that you guys are also working with few students, encouraging some new engineers breed
course.
into it. I think that's also a very good approach, because that's where again innovation will come into pictures.
Yeah.
Because everybody's working within a blinders
Yeah.
in a simple way, especially when they take approach like this. Check it out with few engineers. If I was a wireless power company, example, I would still employ, if I may say, if not employ, get projects to some engineers, fresh engineers, to get some fresh thinking into the industry. I think that's very, very required. Otherwise, we'll be sticking to the same technology for years and years, and that's why we not see it developing very faster. So I think even when I saw your students and PhDs and all this that you employ, I was like, wow, this is good.
Wow, well, thank you. We've made an investment into academia, and we're proud of it, and we're proud of seeing the growth in academia as well.
Yeah.
So since we started, about a decade ago, when we were real tiny, just doing medical devices, probably weren't very many schools, professors, or grad students coming out with a focus on wireless power.
Yeah.
Now today, there are, I would say, about a dozen, very, very strong institutions in the U.S. alone.
Yeah.
There are a couple really great schools in Korea. There's one that comes to mind in China, and I'm sure there are more in China.
Taiwan.
One that comes to mind for me, Taiwan. Yes.
Yeah.
And they're doing interesting research. So a lot of times it's very far away from commercialization.
Yeah.
That's the nature of academic research,
Yeah.
but it really spurs some interesting thinking on different materials. Metamaterials are, if you see a wireless power thesis that doesn't use the word metamaterials in it
Yeah.
right now, it probably hasn't been finished yet.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, that's not really where the magic is happening. But there's a lot going on with like the inverters. There's a lot going on with coil structures, and I think that it's really exciting. And so we like to employ PhDs. We like to employ master's students. We employ people that are more on the side of ready to work with industry and actually launch products to market.
Yeah.
But we like when they have that theoretical and exploratory background. And if they want to stay in academia, that's great too. And we're happy to collaborate with them on some of that really early stuff.
Yeah, and in fact, you know that before attending Modex trade conference last week, a week before that, I was in Houston attending APAC.
Right.
It's Applied Electronics.
Power Electronics Conference, yeah.
Conference there. And I was so surprised. In fact, they have a big session. I think they are known for their technical papers being presented there. I was in that conference room where all the students have posters put up there. Some amazing, excellent work. I'm sure if some of the wireless power companies just go across that room there, I'm sure people like you guys will surely, oh wow, this is good.
Well, that's
You'll be able to recognize, oh wow, this is the problem they were facing, and these students have the answers.
Yeah, well,
You'll be very, very surprised with that. So I think that's good that you guys are encouraging that type of work. APEC was one example. ITRI in Taiwan, I've seen so much excellent work being done by them fresh students there. And in fact, there was another one which I attended in Wireless Power Week where IEEE students and all are presenting papers.
great.
I think we just have to keep our eyes and ears wide open and be acceptable that wow, this is not the stop, this is just the end, just start.
Just a starting point.
Just a starting point, and I think wireless charging has a long way to go. Yeah.
And the interest is growing. Like the interest and the talent pool is growing, which is great for us and it's great for the industry.
And we all know we don't need cables. We can get rid of cables with the technology that we have. We have to get rid of the batteries. We know the pros and cons of not having batteries, and
Just get rid of those.
yeah.
Yep.